The night sky over City Z was uncharacteristically clear, the stars twinkling like tiny sparks scattered across an endless void. On the outskirts of the city, Saitama stood on the roof of his modest apartment building, scratching his bald head and staring upward. Genos had been buzzing around the room earlier, reading reports about an unidentified object of massive density and speed hurtling toward Earth. Saitama had tuned most of it out, until Genos mentioned it might crush half the planet on impact. "Hey," Saitama muttered to himself. "Sounds like a big meteor again. Hope it's not as boring as last time." Meanwhile, far beyond the atmosphere, something far more dangerous than a meteor was descending. A tattered, grotesque shape tumbled through the cold vacuum. Massive shoulders, bone protrusions like jagged white armor, and eyes that glowed with a hateful fire. It was Doomsday, cast adrift after his latest rampage in another universe. He had been hurled through a dimensional rift by the combined forces of Superman and the Justice League, but his body, as always, refused to die. Each molecule adapted to the journey, shaping itself to withstand the chaos between worlds. When his tumbling ceased, Earth's gravity pulled him in like prey to a predator. Doomsday's mind was a furnace of one instinct: destroy. There was no plan, no malice shaped by intellect, only an unstoppable compulsion to annihilate whatever stood before him. And right now, his course aimed straight at Saitama's home turf. The Hero Association's alarms blared as massive screens displayed the incoming threat. The image froze mid-zoom on the creature's snarling visage. Every S-class hero was summoned. Tatsumaki gritted her teeth. Bang prepared his stance, and even Blast made a rare appearance in the comms channel. But deep down, there was an unspoken dread. This thing didn't register like any monster they'd fought. Its energy was alien, unquantifiable, and strangely adaptable. By the time the object pierced the upper atmosphere, the sky over Japan blazed orange. Genos met Saitama outside, armor gleaming, face tense. "Sensei, this isn't like Boros. The creature is absorbing heat from re-entry, as if it's feeding on it. I believe even your..." Yay, Saitama interrupted, walking past him. "Let's just see what it looks like." The impact shook the ground for miles. Asphalt cracked, skyscraper windows shattered, and a deafening shockwave rolled across the city. From the crater's heart, a massive silhouette emerged. Doomsday's hide steamed, bone spikes glistening, his frame dwarfing nearby buildings. He sniffed the air, sensing life and challenges. "Guess you're the weird rock thing everyone's worried about," Saitama said, hopping casually into the crater. Doomsday's gaze locked onto him. There was no hesitation. He lunged, shaking the ground as each step cratered the earth. Saitama tilted his head, unimpressed. From the sidelines, Genos' sensors screamed danger. Every blow Doomsday landed on the ground created seismic ripples, his speed blurring his massive form into a storm of destruction. The monster swiped at Saitama, but the hero sidestepped effortlessly, hands in pockets. Doomsday roared, the sound a mix of grinding stone and shattering steel. Each moment, his body seemed to change. Muscles bulging tighter, bone plates thickening, movements sharpening. It wasn't random. He was learning. The longer he fought, the more perfectly his body adjusted to his opponent's speed and presence. "Whoa," Saitama murmured, as a clawed hand passed inches from his head, slicing through a concrete wall like paper. "You're fast for a big guy." The two circled each other now, Saitama still loose and casual, Doomsday snarling like an animal in a cage too small to contain him. Around them, the city lay in ruin, buildings leaning, sirens wailing. Overhead, Tatsumaki and the other S-class heroes hovered at a distance, sensing the sheer scale of this confrontation was beyond them. Then Doomsday charged again, faster this time, his fist slamming down where Saitama stood. The impact shook the sky, a column of dust blasting upward, but Saitama wasn't there. He was behind Doomsday now, staring at him with a faint grin. "All right," he said. "Maybe you're not so boring after all." Above the wreckage, Geno's voice crackled through comms. "Sensei, I think you should know. My scans show its cells are rewriting themselves with every failed strike. If you give it time." But his warning was drowned out by Doomsday's next roar. The first true clash between an unstoppable punch and an unyielding evolution was about to begin. The air was thick with dust and the acrid scent of scorched earth. Doomsday's massive frame loomed in the crater, his bone armor glistening with heat from the impacts he had already endured. Saitama stood at the opposite edge, hands in pockets, expression blank. But behind those plain features, something rare stirred. For the first time in years, he wasn't sure if a fight would end in a single blow. Doomsday roared and charged, the ground splitting under each step. Saitama shifted his weight just enough to avoid the first swing, the monstrous fist missing his face by inches. The air pressure from the strike blew chunks of asphalt into the air. In a blur, Saitama retaliated, a quick jab to the chest. The shockwave flattened nearby buildings, but Doomsday didn't fall. He staggered back, snarling, bone plates along his torso splintering before reforming even thicker. "Okay," Saitama said quietly, straightening up. "That's new." They clashed again, this time in a flurry of movement that was almost too fast for human eyes. Doomsday swung wide. Saitama ducked, countering with a hook that snapped the monster's head sideways. Doomsday responded instantly, his arm sweeping in from below to uppercut Saitama, sending him skyward. The bald hero twisted midair, landing on a rooftop, only for the rooftop to explode as Doomsday leapt after him, a bone-covered shoulder smashing into his ribs. The blow drove Saitama through 2 skyscrapers. Rubble rained like hail. The hero climbed out, brushing dust off his cape, his mouth curling into the faintest smirk. "All right, you're fast for a big guy." From a distant rooftop, Genos observed, recording every movement. His sensors flashed warnings. "Sensei, the creature's cellular regeneration is accelerating. It's evolving to counter your strikes." Saitama didn't respond. Doomsday was already there again, slamming into him with a force that rattled the city's foundations. The two traded blows that could shatter mountains, each hit cracking the air with a deafening boom. Saitama's punches were starting to draw blood and crack bone, but every injury closed almost instantly, the monster's hide growing denser each time. Then Doomsday adapted further. He began anticipating Saitama's attacks, catching a punch mid-swing and headbutting him so hard the shockwave shattered windows for miles. Saitama hit the ground hard enough to crater it, dust swallowing his form. For a few moments, he didn't move. Doomsday advanced, confident now, every step vibrating through the ruins. But from within the dust, Saitama's voice came. Calm, almost cheerful. "All right, guess I'll have to try for real." The words were followed by a shift in the air, a pressure so heavy it made the very ground groan. Saitama stepped out of the crater, his usual blank stare sharpened. He clenched his fists. Serious series. Doomsday roared and lunged. Saitama moved faster than sight, his body blurring forward. The punch landed square in Doomsday's chest. The sound was like the planet itself cracking. A shockwave erupted outward, clearing the dust for miles, ripping apart the street beneath them. For the first time, Doomsday stumbled backward, bone armor fracturing along his chest. He roared in defiance, swinging again, but Saitama was already there, delivering a second punch to the same spot. Crack spiderweb through Doomsday's frame, glowing faintly from the sheer energy. The monster, unyielding, tried one last desperate strike, but Saitama's third punch, perfectly timed, drove through the resistance. Bone shattered, the ground caved, and Doomsday collapsed to one knee. His regeneration faltered, his form shaking violently. Saitama stood over him, breathing evenly, his expression back to its usual calm. "You're tough, but I'm stronger." With a final decisive strike, Saitama sent Doomsday sprawling into the rubble, unconscious but alive, his body unable to adapt quickly enough to keep up with the sheer escalation of power. The battlefield was silent, except for the distant hum of emergency sirens. Genos arrived moments later, scanning the downed monster. "Sensei, I've never seen you forced to escalate like that." Saitama shrugged. "Yeah, guess I needed the workout." As he turned to leave, Doomsday's body twitched faintly. Still alive, still adapting, a silent reminder that while Saitama had won tonight, this was one opponent who might someday come back ready for round two.